Most of the students that we've taken over the last 5 years to India have been science and engineering students, and that's another boost. So you get a boost for being a STEM major on top of being a boost for having language skills, and so it's important, and that's why I have been a strong advocate for the last 30 years certainly, and certainly African Americans learning another language, a strategic language. We have already 50 million people who speak Spanish, so Spanish is not a strategic language, but these languages that we're talking about are, and so more and more of our students should have an international experience as undergraduate, as well as an acquisition of another language. And our students that we've taken to India are required to, in the 8 weeks, get intermediate status. They are not successful if they don't. We push them very hard, and about 90% of the students have gotten intermediate proficiency in Hindi or Bangla. So now we're going to open it up for questions to any panelists.
So I wanted to talk to you about our language programs. So we offer very intensive immersion-type language programs for the summer and for the academic year and the fall semester. And we had a couple of graduates of our programs, including Isa and several of our other, I think we have a few other graduates of our program in the audience. And Jasmine, of course, who organized the conference, was a participant in our language program last year, and she will be again this year. So our language programs, we offer the language where it's spoken in India. So for instance, our Hindi program is our biggest program. It's in Jaipur. Our Urdu program is our second largest program. It's in Lucknow. We offer Gujarati, for instance, in Ahmedabad. We offer Tamil in Madurai. And we will even offer programs in, just for even one student in really less commonly taught languages like Oriya. We've had Oriya students. We've had students studying Sindhi or Assamese. And so we'll do whatever we can to set up a program for interested students. So our summer programs are 8 weeks. Our academic year programs run from the beginning of September to the end of April. And anyone, even if you're not currently enrolled, anyone is welcome to apply. Now, cost obviously is probably something that's on people's minds. For the academic year program, we do have a grant from the U.S. Department of Education, which allows us to completely fund a number of students who are either U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and have already had 2 years of the language training already by the time they start our program. For the summer, we offer language training at a variety of levels, as for the fall semester. And we do whatever we can to try and help students participate in our programs. We do get contributions from other South Asia centers that allows us to fund students who can't get their own funding. Some students will be able to apply for their own institutional grants. Rhea will be talking to you about the Critical Languages Scholarship Program, which is run by the U.S. State Department, which is an excellent program and which will fund students completely for 4 languages. We actually operate the CLS programs in India in Hindi, Punjabi, Bangla for the time being, and Urdu in India. So anyone who's interested in that, I would strongly encourage you to think about us, because that's the best way, I think, to get intensive language training. And our goal is to train people so that they will be proficient in Indian languages, so that they can go on and do their scholarship in India. We've trained people who, and once we get beyond, a certain level, we train people who will be able to actually read difficult texts in the archives. People who will be able to go out and to do field research as an anthropologist or a sociologist, and talk to people, in their dialect. So our programs, we have 4 hours of classroom training. This is the map of where all of our different programs are located, all over India. So we offer, several hours of classroom training. We offer cooking classes, film screenings, We do scavenger hunts. People are encouraged to take classes like dance classes or music classes in the community and do internships in community services. Do community service and volunteer work with organizations so that they can practice their language. So, and again, we really want to work with people. I mean, I know funding is an issue for people, so we really want to work with people to make this opportunity available to as many people as possible. So again, we have the fellowships, we have the CLS program, and we also have additional funding for students. And I have to show this wonderful slide. Professor Macklin was talking about the Mid-Atlantic Consortium Center for Academic Excellence program in India that we've been working with Professor Macklin for the last several years to bring several students from historically Black colleges and universities to India every summer. So I think this was about 3 or 4 years ago, and the students were visiting the Taj Mahal, of course. This is also a very intensive program. It's in addition to studying language, students also did community service projects, and they also did a capstone research project. And Issa will be able to talk some more about the program because he was a member of the program, and he also went on to do CLS afterwards. So, there's going to be a hiatus this summer, but the program will hopefully be in place for next summer of 2018. And this program had been funded by a grant from the United States government, which also does have an interest in sort of cultivating a pool of people who are knowledgeable about India and other countries in South Asia, which has been considered to be in the national interest. So in addition to funding language study, if people want to go on and do fellowships in India, we actually have some members of the audience right here who have been AIIS fellows. So we provide fellowships to people to do their research in India. We provide fellowships to graduate students to do their PhD dissertation research in India. They can spend up to 11 months in India doing their research, and we fund students, we fund people, scholars, PhD students, people who already have their degree in a variety of disciplines, history, literature, religious studies, and then we also do fund performing and creative artists, which is a really important thing because it's really hard for artists to be able to get funding to do their artistic projects in India. And then, which is very important for people who want to do Africa diaspora studies, we will actually fund people who want to do the India portion of a project that is part of a larger project that would involve, for instance, work in African countries. In addition to that, we do other projects. For instance, just as an example is this workshop here. Now, Jasmine is a student at the University of Chicago who's been on our language programs, and this whole symposium was her brainchild. So we're really eager to work with people who come up with interesting ideas and projects to do outreach. We really want to broaden the pool of people who are scholars, who are experts. People who are interested in working in or on India. It's very important that we have as diverse a community as possible of people who are working on India and other South Asian countries, and that we really want to do outreach to as many different communities as we possibly can. So doing outreach is a very important component of our work. So we co-sponsor these projects. We also co-sponsor conferences together with our other overseas research centers in India and Bangladesh and other places. We also have a website. One thing we do is we work with a variety of study abroad programs in India. So if people are interested in a study abroad program, if they're faculty members who want to talk about working with us to create a study abroad program, I would strongly welcome you to talk to me about that. We work with more than 24 study abroad programs in India. We also are increasing our involvement in service learning opportunities in India because that's becoming something that a lot of people are really interested in doing. So we have a place on our website where we can provide resources for people who want to explore volunteer internship opportunities with Indian NGOs, which is a very much growing part. There are like 600,000 NGOs, many of them are new. And so we're also working on creating a standalone service learning program in India. And just to finish, I was talking about an interesting collaborative project that we funded that involved study of both India and another country. So Ned Burtz, who is now a associate professor at the University of Hawaii, he did his AIIS fellowship in India. He also had a Fulbright to do his Tanzania work, and he has just produced this wonderful book, which you see the cover of this book, which was just published, I believe, last year. So we're really excited about projects like this. So thank you very much, and I'd be happy to answer questions after my colleagues talk. Thank you.
The CLS program was started in 2006 as part of President Bush's National Security Language Initiative. So there were several government scholarships and initiatives that came out of this, and CLS is one of them. So we've been around for about 11 years now, offering all of the languages listed on this flyer. So I'll read them off in case you don't have the flyer in front of you. Arabic, Azerbaijani, Bangla, Chinese, Hindi, Indonesian, Japanese, Korean, Persian, Punjabi, Russian, Swahili, Turkish, and Urdu. So Swahili is our most recently added language. We added it last summer, and so this is our second summer working with Swahili, and we have a program in Tanzania and Arusha. So for the purpose of this program, a critical language, as you can imagine, is something that's not commonly taught in the US. So the State Department is not trying to highlight Spanish and French, for example, because those are considered commonly taught here. So we're trying to send American citizens abroad to become proficient in these languages that are desperately, desperately needed in American public and private sectors. If anyone is familiar with the very recent Commission on Language Learning report that was issued, this was a report issued as part of a request by Congress, a bipartisan request to really figure out what is the state of foreign language acquisition in the United States. And the report is very clear. The state of it is pretty stark. Americans are very behind in foreign language knowledge. We're a very monolingual society, and it's hurting us economically and culturally. So this report was presented to Congress very recently. It had a lot of data in the report from the CLS program, actually. And hopefully that will serve to justify continued funding for the CLS program and other programs like it, because having these languages is definitely going to be helping our American citizens and our society as a whole. So generally what the program is anyone here familiar, or do we have any alumni in the audience? So if you've done the AIIS programs, you'll know what the CLS program is, at least in India, but we do maintain the same structure in all of our sites overseas. So it's 20 hours of language instruction a week, plus cultural excursions, plus cultural activity classes, plus language partner meetings, plus a language policy. So we are really spending 2 months over the summer to push that language into the students' brains as much as possible and have them speak as little English as possible. Typically, our students learn 1 full year of college-level instruction in just 2 months. So it's a really good use of the students' time, and it's a really good use of the Department of State's money as well, which is, of course, all of our money as taxpayers. The great thing about the CLS program, as we spoke about earlier, is that it's fully funded. So everything is covered for the students. That includes the domestic flights, the international flights, insurance, housing, food. Most of our students are living with host families overseas, again, to increase that immersion experience. And we also give our students stipends over the summer, and that's to cover any unanticipated costs that might occur. So really, the program is designed to be fully funded, and there are no catches or no hidden fees in that. So again, the program is highly structured. We're trying to make the most of the summer. I think students often get culture shock from how little free time they have. As independent college students or graduate students or PhD students here in the US, they go on this program and they realize that it's very highly structured, there's little free time, and all of the activities are required. So that is definitely one source of culture shock. And another source of culture shock for our students is actually the other American students on the program. So we are, a federally funded program. We're trying to represent all American students in higher education. That means we're getting students from all 50 states, from community colleges, from historically black colleges. We are really trying to send a representative pool of American students overseas. So we have students go on these programs and maybe they've only ever met American students in, an urban setting, and they have students on their program from a rural setting. So there's also very interesting connections that happen between the CLS peers on the program. So as I said, in terms of the connections here for this conference, we offer 4 Indic languages: Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, and Bangla, and those are all run by our excellent partner in India, AIIS. And then, of course, we also have Swahili, which is a more recent language. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the CLS program. I myself am an alumni of the Hindi program, which I completed in 2011, and Isa is also an alumni of the Urdu program. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Everyone, I'm Anna Parsik, and I am here from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and I am really glad that Rhea and Elise went ahead of me because I have 4 programs that I'm going to talk about really, really quickly, but they are related. AIPS and AIBS are overseas research centers like AIIS, and SASLI and SOFLI are language programs, much like CLS. So you have the background, at least for how they work, and then I can get into just very brief details about them. But please feel free to ask me lots of questions afterwards, because I know this is going to be a very gloss over? I don't know. Anyways. So first I'm going to talk to you about the American Institute of Pakistan Studies, AIPS. Like AIIS, it's a member of CAORC, of our lovely members here, the Council of American Overseas Research Centers. And AIPS offers postdoctoral and predoctoral fellowships to travel either to Pakistan or a third country. Maybe not as much as AIIS, but AIPS is unfortunately, we have to deal with the Department of State travel restrictions. So currently, travel to Pakistan is limited, but people can go to a third country. There is some funding for people to travel to Pakistan, and we hope that it will open up more in the future. But lots of people travel to England or other countries as well to do their research. The eligibility requirements are up there. You have to be an AIPS member, which costs $25 a year and gives you a whole lot of networking opportunities, participation in conferences, access to job opportunities and other things in the field. AIPS also offers conference travel grants. If you're presenting at a conference, you can get funding for international or domestic travel to that conference to present a paper. And the AIPS website's down at the bottom there if you have questions. Sorry, this is going to be really fast. One more thing about AIPS that didn't make it on the slide is they actually have a language program in Pakistan that they're running currently. And it's in conjunction with the University of California, Berkeley. It's called BULPIP, the Berkeley Urdu Language Program in Pakistan. So if you're interested in studying Urdu and are at an intermediate or advanced level and would like to travel to Lahore to study, you can apply to BULPIP for the fall semester. And that's fully funded travel to Pakistan with AIPS to study Urdu. The American Institute of Bangladesh Studies, or AIBS, is very similar to AIPS. You can travel to Bangladesh if the restrictions aren't in place, or countries outside the U.S., a third country. Same sort of eligibility. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to be enrolled or employed at a U.S. academic institution. The only difference with AIBS is they have 3 categories of fellowships: senior, junior, and pre-dissertation. But both AIPS and AIBS fellowships are mostly for people working on a PhD who already have a PhD. AIBS also has conference travel grants. Right now they have only domestic travel grants, but if you're, again, giving a paper somewhere in the US you can apply for that and get funding. AIPS and AIBS, the amount of the award for the travel grants and the fellowships varies based on where you're going, the cost of living, how long you're going to be there for. It can be from 2 months to 12 months, I believe, so it really ranges, but usually they're fully funded opportunities to go and travel. Again, the AIBS.net is the website for AIBS. Okay, sorry. And then we have the South Asia Summer Language Institute, or SISAAS. That is currently hosted at UW-Madison every summer, sorry. It's an 8-week intensive program. You get a year's worth of language study, and our classes range from 2 people in a class up to 20 if you're taking elementary Hindi. We offer some combination of those 12 South Asian languages at the elementary and intermediate level. We also offer Hindi and Urdu at the advanced level, or the 3rd year level. For SISAAS funding, we have FLAS, which is the Foreign Language and Area Studies fellowships, and for that you must be a grad student and either a U.S. citizen or permanent resident to be eligible, and that covers your full cost of tuition plus a stipend for living and travel expenses. We also have a SISAAS-run fee remission, and anyone is eligible for that. You can be an undergrad, a graduate student, not currently enrolled, non-traditional. Anyone's eligible for that, and they come in either a half tuition remission amount or a full tuition remission amount. And we usually offer between 3 to 6 full tuition remissions and 5 to 10 half tuition remissions every year. And then anyone is eligible for the $1,000 fee remission who doesn't have other funding. Our website is sasli.wis.edu. Our application for this summer the deadline just passed, but if we are running a language already, we are still taking applications. So if there's anyone here that's interested, or if you know someone that's interested, we are definitely still taking applications for this summer in Madison. And then finally, we have the very similarly titled SOFLI, which is the South Asia Flagship Languages Initiative, and that is the current new flagship program for Hindi and Urdu only. There's also an African Flagship Languages Initiative that's not run through our offices, but these are 2 special initiatives that are being run by the Boren Awards. So I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Boren, but you can be an undergraduate student or a graduate student to apply for and receive a Boren. Once you complete your Boren and you graduate, you are required to do 1 year of government service in exchange for these fully funded programs. So for SOFLI, this special initiative, you come and you spend 8 weeks in Madison at SOFLI, and you learn either Hindi or Urdu. And then in the fall, you either go to Jaipur or Lucknow through AIIS and continue your study there. It's a language and culture study, so you study your language, but you also have additional tutoring, culture excursions, and lots of additional add-ons to sort of complete the whole picture. And again, these are fully funded through Boren for your tuition and all your expenses. And the website is down there at the bottom if you're interested.
The language skills that you do come back with, you can combine with your technical skills. So, for example, I've received, actually I got my internship coming back for JP Morgan simply from the fact I did the Urdu program with CLS. They were interested in the fact that I was able to go abroad. Someone's paying for you to go abroad. Your ability to handle both the challenges with the American students, because I go to a HBCU, and I grew up in like a predominantly black county, haven't really met a lot of Americans throughout the states. So I was confused when I met people from the Midwest who were proud to be from the Midwest. I remember getting into discussions with our professors about like the only place in the U.S. that you really should be visiting is the coast, and insulting the people there. So outside of that, it was an experience coming back where employers, they look at you differently. I mean, we've gotten recognition from the U.S. government. I believe it's the language training is accumulated more where it counts as government service. Am I correct?
Yeah, so CLS does, as of this year, have non-competitive hiring status for alumni for federal jobs.
If you want to work in a private sector, it's particularly engineering, it turns out a lot of my coworkers are of South Asian descent. Actually, it's become weird. Sometimes my resume is flagged, and it's like I'll get the subsequent questions: "Are you an American citizen?" or I'll be paired with someone who's South Asian, and I will be like, "I'm Black American." They'll just look. Why do you know Urdu and Hindi on there? In that regard, I believe, unlike what's the research that everyone else does, where it's more languages in conjunction with a historical aspect, if you do it with, say, like natural language processing or artificial intelligence, those are underrepresented fields of applying your language skills there. Because a lot of coding and electrical engineering is done mainly with English as the main language. Now, because of the rise of China, Chinese is coming out, but specifically Hindi and Urdu, it's not a big thing. And it can grow because India has a population of like 1.2 billion people. That was, if you have questions about my experience, you can ask that later, but that was just a really short thing.